I saved the life of Don Stefano Marino of the Marino family. The moment a bullet was about to strike him, I was the one who shielded him from it. Because of the life debt he owed me, Stefano decided that I would be the one marrying him instead of my older sister, Anna Costa, in the marriage alliance. But on our wedding night, Stefano would rather drink himself into a stupor somewhere in the city than consummate our marriage with me. Like a naive fool, I thought that I'd be able to melt his heart of ice someday with my love. But it had been less than 5 years when Stefano brought a kid, who resembled him, and Anna back. Anna has suffered tremendously during her time overseas while trying to raise her child on her own. I need to make it up to her. Then Stefano passed the divorce agreement to me. You've hogged the position as the Donna for so many years. It's time for you to give it back to her. Only then did I find out that Stefano had actually spent the night with Anna on the night of our wedding. I pulled out the pregnancy report that I had meant to surprise Stefano with, only for him to rip it into shreds. I don't need another child. Once those icy words fell, I was sent into the operating theater by force, where I suffered from heavy bleeding afterward, resulting in the deaths of me and my unborn baby. When I woke up again, I saw Stefano, who was about to get shot. This time, I shoved Anna in his direction. Stefano Marino struggled to stand up, and upon hearing footsteps he coldly snapped, "Get lost." The next second, he heard the muffled sobs of a woman before him and froze. Anna. He looked into the distance and saw me standing at the entrance of the alley, watching coldly. In my previous life, I had recklessly taken a bullet for him. But the moment he realized he was unharmed, he immediately pushed me away. When he looked at me, his gaze was filled with nothing but indifference. Once his and my family's soldati arrived on the scene, he handed my severely injured self to my family's soldati without a second thought. Then he took Anna Costa's hand and left the place with her. "Stefano, I'm just glad you're okay," Anna said before passing out in Stefano's arms. Seeing her wound, Stefano instantly understood what had happened. When his soldati arrived, he shielded Anna in his arms and swiftly rushed toward the black sedan. As he passed by me, he didn't even spare me a glance. I knew that the assassination Stefano encountered today was due to someone within the family leaking his whereabouts. In my previous life, Stefano uncovered the truth that very night. Having lived through this once before, I saw no need to intervene this time. During the pursuit earlier in the morning, I was also injured. But with my family's declining influence and to maintain my own standing, I chose not to seek professional medical help. While bandaging my wounds late at night, I suddenly heard a knock on the window. Staggering over to open it, I was stunned to see Stefano standing outside. "What are you doing here?" He had somehow bypassed all the guards and come to me alone. Stefano stood at the door, his expression icy. "You did that on purpose today, didn't you?" I averted my gaze. "You're overthinking it." Stefano grabbed my wrist. "You were the closest to me, yet you suddenly stepped back and pushed Anna in front of me. If anything happens to her, will you finally be satisfied?" I couldn't help but think Stefano had lost his mind. Believe whatever you want. When I saved him, he acted as if I were a nuisance. Yet, when the woman he loved stepped in to rescue him, he turned around and accused me of orchestrating it all. If I had known this was going to happen, I would have just let the bullet pierce his heart and be done with it. A cold breeze swept in, sharpening the sting of my wounds. Thus, I had no choice but to say to him, "I was injured too today. If there's nothing else, you should leave." Stefano was likely taken aback by my attitude, as he had never seen me like this before. After a momentary pause, he let out a scornful laugh. "Anita, are you trying to play the victim with me now? Do you think I'd pity you?" I stared at him, speechless. So this was how he saw me. For years, my feelings for Stefano had been an open secret. And because of my love for him, I had all but erased myself in his presence. He once said he liked women in long skirts, so every day, I showed up before him wearing a different one. When he mentioned he admired women who could cook, I devoted myself to the kitchen, experimenting with dishes day after day. I thought that at the very least, my efforts would earn me a sliver of his affection. It wasn't until I lay on the operating table, lifeless and carrying a child that would never be born, that I realized, as long as I wasn't Anna, nothing I did would ever matter. The lesson learned from dying once was too painful. Thus, in this second chance at life, I chose to set Stefano free and spare myself from all the heartache. The next day, Stefano ordered an investigation into the assassination attempt. And to my shock, the primary person of interest was me. Principessa Anita, apart from the injured Miss Anna, you were the only other person present that day. Thus, you are currently the prime suspect. Please cooperate with our investigation. I found it utterly absurd. I was injured that day too. Stefano's soldato remained stern. Don Marino said you are cunning and may have orchestrated it yourself. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. Cunning? Was that really how Stefano saw me? Disregarding my explanations, Stefano's soldati dragged me straight into a basement. I fought desperately, shouting, "My father is also a Don. If he finds out about this, he'll definitely make you pay." The soldati remained calm. "These are Don Marino's orders, so I'm sure your father will understand." Just like that, I was locked up for 3 days. With my wounds still unhealed and the place damp and dark, I soon developed a fever and passed out. In my dazed state, I heard the sound of a door opening. Then, the scent of a fir tree filled the air as someone lifted me and carried me away. When I woke up, I found myself in a warm room, my wounds freshly bandaged. I asked my soldati, but they only said that my father, Roberto Costa, had already reached a decision on the matter. When Anna recovered and was discharged from the hospital, Stefano personally went to pick her up and escorted her home. Outside the study, I overheard Stefano speaking to Dad. Anna was gravely injured while saving my life, and I can never repay such a debt of gratitude. I hope you'll allow me to marry her, so that I can spend the rest of my life loving and protecting her. I thought I had come to terms with all of this, but hearing Stefano speak those words himself still made my heart ache bitterly. He would feel heartbroken over Anna's severe injuries from saving him. Yet in my previous life, when I saved him just the same, he saw me as nothing more than a burden he felt he had to be responsible for. In my previous life, Stefano never wanted to marry me in the first place. It was only because the rumors at the time began to tarnish his image in the Marino family that he felt compelled to take me as his wife. Seeing me standing by the door, Anna walked in and said to Dad with tears in her eyes, "Dad, I think it's best to call off this engagement. After all, how could I ever take Stefano from Anita when he's the one she loves?" Dad glanced in my direction. Stefano immediately stepped in front of me, blocking Dad's gaze. "Principessa Anita, I apologize, but do allow me to say this one final time. I do not love you. No matter what you do, I will never love you. In my heart, there is only Anna." I nodded. "I understand. Rest assured, I will not intrude upon your wedding with Anna. My early congratulations to you both." Perhaps because I sounded too calm, Stefano started sizing me up. Dad walked over and patted my shoulder with a smile. "My dear daughter has finally come to her senses. Don't worry, I'll introduce you to other men who are better and more outstanding." I deliberately avoided looking at Stefano and nodded with a smile. "All right." Once Anna and Stefano's wedding was decided, Stefano began visiting the estate daily. In the past, I had to go to great lengths just to catch a glimpse of him. Not only did I have to bribe his soldati, but I also had to pry information from Anna's attendants. And because of this, I was often mocked by her attendants for being shameless. Ironically, now that I had lost all interest, Stefano seemed to linger around me constantly, and it was starting to get annoying. Anna probably assumed I still liked Stefano, because she would always put on this gentle older sister act and come over just to talk to me about him. "Anita, you love sunflowers, right? Stefano had these picked fresh this morning. Would you like me to share some with you?" "Anita, Stefano brought back so many jewelry pieces from Verdurin this time. I can't possibly wear them all, so let me give you a few." I lowered my gaze to one of them, a pink diamond ring. I remembered just before the wedding in my previous life, I told Stefano I wanted a pink diamond ring. I told him I didn't care about anything else for the wedding, as long as I could have a pink diamond ring. I spoke with such humility, yet Stefano didn't listen at all. But on the day of the wedding, the ring was just a plain, ordinary style. Moreover, it was even a size too big for my finger, and that size could only fit Anna. I was staring at the pink diamond ring, completely lost in thought and unaware of the footsteps approaching outside the door. By the time I noticed, Anna had suddenly fallen in front of me, and the ruby necklace in her hand scattered across the floor. I crouched down to pick it up, only to be blocked by a pair of black leather shoes. "Stefano, please don't blame Anita." Before I could even say a word, Anna began to cry first. Tears rolled down her face one by one, making her look utterly pitiful. "It's all my fault for not holding it properly. It's not because Anita pushed me on purpose," Anna said. Stefano's expression grew darker as he stared at me. "Anita, as soon as your parents are gone, you start bullying Anna. It's a shame she goes out of her way to think of you in every little thing. You truly have a heart of stone." My heart ached unbearably. "I didn't push her," I said through gritted teeth, fighting back tears. Anna quickly grabbed my hand and pretended to comfort me. "Anita, it's all right. It's all my fault. Please don't be angry." Before she could finish, Stefano pulled her behind him protectively. Stino looked at me with nothing but hostility in his eyes. "I didn't mind how casual you used to be with Anna before, but now that she's going to marry me and become the Donna of my family, I can't just stand by and do nothing while you bully her." He turned to Anna, his voice softening noticeably. "Anna, don't worry. I'll stay at your house these next few days until your parents return." Then he shot me a sharp, warning glance. In the past, whenever I knew Stefano was coming to our house, I would happily dress up, let alone if he were staying here. But now there wasn't a trace of joy on my face. Not seeing the reaction he expected, Stefano seemed slightly taken aback. Nevertheless, he still warned me. "During this time, you'd better keep a certain distance from me so as not to give outsiders reason to gossip." The next morning, Stefano went to the kitchen to specifically make breakfast for Anna. To make sure I knew about it, Anna intentionally spoke loudly as I passed by. Unfortunately, as I walked past the kitchen, I didn't pause at all. Instead, I went straight to the garage and drove myself out to have breakfast elsewhere. On my way back, I stopped by a salon and dyed my hair. When Stefano saw me, he let out a scoff. "Anita, isn't this a rather low tactic to use just to get my attention? Don't flatter yourself. I didn't dye my hair for you," I replied flatly. I had wanted to dye my hair red for a long time, so it wasn't exactly a spur-of-the-moment decision. Stefano's eyes then fell on my short skirt. "Is this also part of your new strategy?" I ignored him and turned to leave. My legs were naturally long and slender, and I had been praised for them since I was young. Short skirts suited me the best, but I never wore them before simply because Stefano preferred understated elegance. Behind me, Stefano watched me leave, his gaze still indifferent. But the hand clutching his phone tightened again and again. Anna approached and gently took his arm. Stefano, Anita has become so rebellious lately that she doesn't even listen to me anymore. Do you think she's still upset about our marriage? Stefano lowered his eyes. Let her be. No matter what tactic she uses to seek attention, she can't do anything to us as long as we ignore her. I neither knew about their conversation, nor cared to find out. I went out in the afternoon because Dad had arranged a blind date for me. It was my first time meeting him, and just as Dad had said, he was someone whose qualities were in no way inferior to Stefano's. We shared many common interests and topics of conversation. For a first meeting, we got along surprisingly well. When I returned that evening, I saw Stefano sitting in the living room with his head bowed. Having loved him for years in my previous life and spent several more in marriage, no one understood him better than I did. Just one glance at his posture told me that his migraine had flared up again. Stefano had always been one to care deeply about his pride. He had to be sitting here now because he didn't want Anna or anyone else to notice his condition. Originally, I had no intention of getting involved. But after taking a few steps, I remembered how when I once had a fever in my previous life, it was Stefano who got the medicine for me and called a doctor. Fine. I would just treat him as a guest in this house and offer the hospitality expected of a host. Turning around, I took out a box of medicine and handed it to him. When he looked up, our eyes met. He probably never expected that I would know about his migraines, let alone bring him medicine. But after a moment, he took the medicine and said mockingly, "Are you trying to make me owe you?" I ignored his sarcasm and went straight back to my room. And so, I didn't notice the growing intensity in Stefano's gaze as he watched me leave. 2 days later, Stefano suddenly stormed in angrily and threw a pair of lacy underwear at my face. "Anita, you really are a shameless woman." I was utterly confused, but the underwear was indeed mine. Yet, how on earth did it end up in Stefano's hands? Baffled and burning with shame, I asked, "How did you get this?" Stefano sneered coldly. "Is this another one of your tricks? Playing hard to get, are we? Pretending you don't love me anymore, yet scheming behind my back to sleep with me? Anita, you're truly despicable." I instinctively tried to explain. "There must be some misunderstanding. I didn't put this in your room. Stefano cut me off before I could finish, his voice dripping with mockery. "Anita, did you really think these petty tricks of yours would make me see you differently? My heart belongs to Anna alone." His gaze grew colder with each word, as if I were some kind of criminal. As he turned to leave, he added, "The next time you see Anna, I expect you to address her as Donna Marino." The next day, Stefano and Anna officially set their wedding date. After informing me, Anna even came to me in tears. She said she didn't have many friends and asked me to be her bridesmaid, appealing to our blood ties. I wanted to refuse, but Dad called me into his study and insisted I accept. In the end, I had no choice but to agree. Once I had accepted, he immediately followed up by asking when I planned to start considering my own marriage. Remembering my last encounter with the man from the blind date, I instinctively touched the necklace he had given me and replied shyly, "I've already met someone I like." Dad glanced at the necklace around my neck and then asked in a puzzled tone, "Who is it?" My cheeks flushed slightly as I answered, "The one you introduced me to last time." Dad looked taken aback. "But didn't you end up not going to see him?" I froze. "What? No, that couldn't be right." I definitely went, and we had a pleasant conversation. We even exchanged contact information and agreed to meet again. Hearing me say this, Stefano sneered coldly from the side. Principessa Anita must have met him in her dreams. He didn't believe me, let alone believe that I went to meet another man. "Dad, I really did go. In fact, this necklace was a gift from him." I insisted firmly. I placed the necklace in front of Dad, and Stefano's expression stiffened slightly. After leaving the study, Stefano suddenly pulled me into a corner and said, "If you behave and stop scheming, I can treat you like a sister. I'll even have meals with you and spend time with you." I let out a light laugh and replied seriously, "Stefano, I don't love you anymore. In fact, I'm interested in someone else now." After hearing this, Stefano pressed closer step by step. "Then tell me, if you don't love me anymore, why are you still wearing a necklace with elements of my family?" I took a step back and snapped loudly, "This necklace has nothing to do with you. It's late, you should get some rest." In the shadows, Anna was staring intently at my back, her face cold and grim. The wedding ceremony was set to take place in 7 days. Just when everything seemed perfectly prepared, chaos erupted right before it began. Anna's wedding gown had been sabotaged. When she opened her wardrobe, she found it replaced with a nun's habit, with a crude skull drawn on the inside. She wept pitifully, and everyone crowded around to comfort her. I walked over to take a closer look at the details of the wardrobe, but Anna suddenly grabbed my hand. "Anita, I know you've liked Stefano since we were young, but he's your future brother-in-law. We're family, so how could you let your obsession drive you to curse me? That day in Dad's study, you even said yourself that you no longer had feelings for Stefano. Why go back on your word on the day of our wedding?" Upon hearing this, everyone in the room fell silent and fixed their eyes on me. My feelings for Stefano were once so openly and unabashedly worn that they were practically a public secret. And now, with Anna's wedding dress sabotaged like this, it was only natural that I, as the bridesmaid, would be the prime suspect. I was left speechless for a moment, unsure where to even begin explaining. But just as I was about to speak, I saw Stefano, dressed in a tailored suit, walk in and immediately pull Anna into his arms. Taking the cue, Anna tearfully pleaded, "Stefano, maybe you should just marry Anita instead. I'm so frightened that I'll be jinxed." As soon as she finished speaking, Stefano kicked me hard, sending me crashing into the closet. My body slammed against the solid wood. And for a moment, the pain was so intense I could hardly breathe. This wasn't the first time Stefano had rejected me, but it was the first time he had laid hands on me in front of everyone. Shame and pain washed over me, deepening my disappointment in him once again. Lowering my head, I mustered what little strength I had left and asked hoarsely, "Stefano, have you ever truly believed me?" Stefano stood still, his gaze utterly indifferent as he looked at me. "Never. Anita, since you've repeatedly hurt Anna without regard, don't blame me for being merciless." With that, he gave a cold wave of his hand. Several bodyguards stepped forward and restrained me firmly. As I lay there unable to move, they stripped my clothes and used a knife to carve a skull on my arm. Stefano said this was only a fraction of the pain Anna had suffered. When the blade cut through my skin, the sharp pain brought tears streaming down my face. I wanted to beg for mercy, but my mouth was covered, leaving me unable to utter a word through the agony. Just as I was on the verge of passing out, a figure dressed in black suddenly appeared. "Stop!" The newcomer swiftly kicked away the bodyguard restraining me and pulled me into his protective embrace. I heard Stefano furiously shouting, "Who are you? How dare you interfere with the affairs of the Marino family? Do you have a death wish or something?" "A death wish?" The man's voice was a low, dangerous rumble that vibrated against my back. He didn't turn around, his attention focused entirely on the bleeding wound on my arm. He pulled a pristine white handkerchief from his pocket and pressed it gently against the carved skin. His movements surprisingly tender for someone who had just dispatched a trained bodyguard with a single kick. "Perhaps. But not today, and certainly not by your hand, Stefano Marino." A collective gasp rippled through the room. No one spoke to Don Stefano Marino like that. Not in his own territory, not surrounded by his soldati, and certainly not on the eve of his wedding. I looked up, my vision blurred by tears and pain, trying to discern the face of my savior. He was tall, broader than Stefano, with hair as dark as midnight and eyes that glinted like polished obsidian. A scar ran jaggedly from his left eyebrow down to his cheekbone, adding a rugged, dangerous edge to his striking features. He exuded an aura of raw power that rivaled, perhaps even surpassed, Stefano's icy dominance. "Who are you?" Stefano demanded again, stepping forward, his hand drifting towards the gun concealed beneath his jacket. His soldati mirrored the movement, a dozen weapons instantly trained on the intruder. The man finally turned, shielding me with his body. He looked at Stefano not with fear, but with a chilling amusement. "Does the name Lorenzo Vitiello ring a bell, Don Marino?" Silence descended upon the room, thick and suffocating. Even the air seemed to still. Vitiello. The name was whispered in hushed tones, a ghost story told to frighten aspiring mobsters. The Vitiello family was a rival syndicate, ruthless and powerful, operating from the shadows. Lorenzo Vitiello was its current head, the capo dei capi of the underworld's most feared faction. Stefano's eyes narrowed. "Vitiello, you're a long way from your territory, Lorenzo. And trespassing on Marino land is an act of war." "Ah!" Lorenzo chuckled darkly. "I didn't come for war, Stefano. I came for her." He gestured slightly towards me, his hand still firmly pressing the handkerchief to my arm. "Anita." Stefano scoffed, disbelief mingling with his anger. "What business does the Vitiello Don have with the disgraced second daughter of the Costa family?" "Disgraced?" Lorenzo's gaze hardened. "Only in the eyes of fools who cannot see a diamond amidst the coal. Anita Costa is under my protection now. Touch her again, and war won't be a threat. It will be your inevitable reality." Anna, who had been watching with wide, fearful eyes, suddenly stepped forward, clinging to Stefano's arm. "Stefano, he's bluffing. He's just trying to ruin our wedding. Anita probably hired him to stage this." I flinched. Even now, in this situation, she wouldn't stop. But before Stefano could respond, Lorenzo's cold laughter cut through the tension. "Hired me? Little girl, you overestimate your sister's resources and underestimate my price. No amount of money buys Lorenzo Vitiello. But loyalty, courage, sacrifice, those are currencies I value. Currencies your sister possesses in abundance, while you." He looked Anna up and down with open disdain. "Seem bankrupt." He turned back to me, his expression softening instantly. "Can you stand, Gatina?" I nodded weakly, though my legs trembled. He didn't wait for me to try. In one fluid motion, he swept me up into his arms, bridal style. The sudden movement sent a jolt of pain through my arm, and I hissed through my teeth. "Hold on," he murmured against my hair. "I'll get you out of here." "You're not taking her anywhere," Stefano growled, blocking the doorway. "She stays. She has to answer for what she did to Anna's dress." "The dress?" Lorenzo paused, looking at the tattered nun's habit on the floor. "You think she did that? A woman who took a bullet for you? A woman who loved you enough to endure your indifference for years? Use your head, Stefano. If the alcohol hasn't rotted it completely, why would she sabotage a wedding she's already stepped aside for? Why would she draw attention to herself in such a clumsy, malicious way? He shifted his gaze to Anna. Unless, of course, the real culprit wanted exactly that outcome. A classic misdirection. Paint the sister as the villain to secure the victim status. Tell me, Donna Anna, did you enjoy destroying your own gown? Or did you have help? Anna turned pale, her grip on Stefano tightening. He's lying. Stefano, don't listen to him. He's trying to turn you against me. Stefano looked between Anna and Lorenzo, conflict warring in his eyes. For a second, just a split second, I saw doubt flicker there. But then he looked at my bloody arm, at the way I clung to Lorenzo's shirt, and his expression hardened into stone once more. Take her, Stefano spat. If she leaves with you, she is no longer a Costa. She is no longer welcome in Marino territory. She is dead to us. Good, Lorenzo replied calmly, stepping past Stefano. Because she deserves a life, not a slow death in your shadow. He carried me out of the room, past the stunned guests, past my father who stood frozen in the hallway, his face unreadable. We walked out into the cool night air, where a convoy of black SUVs waited. As he settled me into the back seat of the lead car, he leaned in close. You're safe now, Anita. I promise. Why? I whispered, my voice barely audible. Why did you save me? He smiled, a genuine, crooked smile that transformed his face. Because I saw you that day, in the alley. I saw you push your sister to safety, even after everything. I saw a strength that shouldn't be wasted on a man too blind to see it. He gently brushed a stray hair from my face. And because I owe you a debt of my own. Before I could ask what he meant, the car door closed, and we sped away into the night, leaving the Marino estate and my past life behind forever. I woke up in a room that smelled of lavender and old books. Sunlight streamed through sheer curtains, illuminating a space far grander than my room at the Costa estate. My arm throbbed, and I looked down to see it bandaged with professional precision. You're awake. Lorenzo sat in a velvet armchair by the window, a book in his lap. He looked different in the daylight, less like a demon of the night, and more like a man burdened by heavy responsibilities. He wore a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal muscular forearms covered in intricate tattoos. Where am I? I asked, pushing myself up. My home, he replied, closing the book. In the hills overlooking the city. You've been asleep for 2 days. 2 days. Panic flared in my chest. My father. Stefano. They haven't come for you, Lorenzo said bluntly. Your father issued a statement disowning you. Stefano proceeded with the wedding yesterday. A dull ache settled in my chest. Married. Stefano was married. And my father. He had truly abandoned me. I expected as much, I said, my voice hollow. Thank you for saving me, Lorenzo. But I can't stay here. I need to find a place. You have nowhere to go, Anita, Lorenzo interrupted gently. You have no money, no allies, and the Marino family has marked you as an enemy. Stepping outside these gates would be suicide. So I'm a prisoner? I asked bitterly. No. You are a guest. A protected guest. He stood up and walked over to the bed. I meant what I said about owing you a debt. I don't remember ever meeting you before that night, I said, confused. You wouldn't. It was 3 years ago. A gala in Milan. There was an attempt on my life, poison in my wine. He watched me closely. You bumped into the waiter carrying the tray. Spilled the wine all over yourself. Everyone thought you were just clumsy. Stefano scolded you for embarrassing him. But I saw you switch the glasses moments before. You knew. My eyes widened. I remembered that night. I remembered seeing a man slip a powder into a glass. I didn't know who the target was, only that I couldn't let someone die if I could stop it. So I created a scene. I didn't know it was you, I whispered. Doesn't matter. You saved my life. And unlike Stefano Marino, Lorenzo Vitiello pays his debts. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Open it. Inside was a ring. A pink diamond ring. I gasped, looking up at him. How? I heard you once, in a jewelry store, talking to yourself about a pink diamond. You said it was the only thing you wanted. He shrugged, looking almost shy. I thought, if you were to start a new life, you should have something that belongs only to you. Not as a symbol of marriage, but as a promise. A promise that from now on, you get what you want. Tears welled up in my eyes again, but this time, they weren't from pain. Lorenzo, I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay. Let me help you heal. Let me help you become the woman you were meant to be, before they broke you. I looked at the ring, then at him. For the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt seen. Truly seen. Okay, I said softly. I'll stay. Life at the Vitiello estate was a stark contrast to the Costa household. There was no walking on eggshells, no constant need to please. Lorenzo gave me freedom I had never known. He encouraged me to pursue my interests, hiring tutors for painting, languages, and at my request, self-defense. You need to know how to protect yourself, he said one afternoon in the estate's gym, wrapping my hands for boxing. Not because I won't protect you, but because knowing you can is freedom. Training with Lorenzo was intense. He didn't go easy on me, pushing me to my limits. But he was also patient, celebrating every small victory. Good, he praised as I landed a solid punch on the bag. Again, use your hips. Months passed. My body grew stronger. The skull scar on my arm fading into a white line that I eventually covered with a tattoo of a phoenix, rising from the ashes. News of the Marino-Costa alliance reached us often. It wasn't going well. Anna, it turned out, wasn't the Don Stefano had hoped for. She was demanding, jealous, and lacked the diplomatic skills required to run a crime family's social circle. The Marino family's reputation was suffering. One evening, Lorenzo came home with a grim expression. "What is it?" I asked, pouring him a drink. "Stefano is making moves on our southern territories. He's trying to provoke a war to distract from his internal problems." Lorenzo took the glass, his fingers brushing mine. "He's desperate. What will you do?" I have to respond. Strength is the only language he understands. He looked at me. "But I worry about you. He knows you're here. If war breaks out, you become a target again." "I'm not the same Anita he knew," I said, lifting my chin. "Let him come. I'm ready." Lorenzo smiled, a proud glint in his eyes. "I know you are. But I have a better idea. A way to stop this war before it begins. And get you the justice you deserve." "How?" "The annual Don's Ball," he said. "It's neutral ground. All the families attend. Stefano will be there with Anna. And I intend to walk in with you on my arm." The night of the ball, I wore a dress that was nothing like the modest gowns I used to wear for Stefano. It was a deep, shimmering emerald green, backless and daring, hugging every curve. My red hair cascaded down my back in waves, and on my finger, the pink diamond sparkled under the lights. When Lorenzo and I entered the ballroom, the hush was immediate. All eyes turned to us. Whispers erupted like wildfire. "Is that Anita Costa? She's with Vitiello? Look at her, she's stunning." I held my head high, my hand resting comfortably on Lorenzo's arm. He looked dashing in a black tuxedo, his scar adding to his dangerous allure. We moved through the crowd, greeting other Dons and their wives. Lorenzo introduced me simply as Anita, no title, no family name attached. Just me. And the respect they showed him extended to me. Then I saw them. Stefano and Anna stood near the center of the room. Stefano looked tired, his face drawn, a glass of whiskey firmly in his hand. Anna wore a white dress that looked too bridal, too innocent, clashing with the sharp, angry look in her eyes as she glared at a waiter. When Stefano saw me, he froze. His glass stopped halfway to his mouth. His eyes widened, taking in my appearance, the confident way I held myself, the proprietary hand Lorenzo had on my waist. "Anita," he breathed, the word carrying across the short distance. Anna whipped around. Her jaw dropped. "What is she doing here? Who let her in?" Lorenzo guided me towards them. The crowd parted, sensing the confrontation. "Good evening, Stefano." "Anna," Lorenzo said smoothly. "Lovely party." "Get out," Stefano hissed, his voice low. "You're not welcome here." "Neutral ground, remember?" Lorenzo smirked. "Besides, I think my companion has every right to be here. She is, after all, a Costa by blood." "She was disowned," Anna shrieked, losing her composure. "She's nothing. A traitor." I stepped forward, meeting Anna's gaze calmly. "And you, sister? What are you? A usurper? A liar? Or just a woman terrified that her stolen happiness is crumbling?" "You." Anna raised her hand to slap me. In my previous life, I would have flinched. I would have taken it. This time, I caught her wrist in midair. My grip was firm, honed by months of training. "Don't," I warned, my voice steel. "I am not the punching bag you remember." I released her hand with a slight shove. Anna stumbled back into Stefano, who caught her but didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on me, burning with an emotion I couldn't decipher. Regret? Anger? Desire? "You've changed," Stefano said quietly. "I had to," I replied. "You made sure of that." "Anita," he took a step towards me. "We need to talk." "There is nothing to talk about, Stefano. You made your choice. Live with it." I turned to Lorenzo. "Dance with me." "With pleasure." We swept onto the dance floor, leaving Stefano and Anna fuming in our wake. As we waltzed, I felt Stefano's eyes on me the entire time. But for the first time, it didn't hurt. It felt like victory. The ball was the turning point. Stefano's obsession with me, or rather, with the fact that I was with Lorenzo, grew. He started making reckless mistakes in business, fixated on rescuing me from the enemy. Anna, sensing her grip on him slipping, became desperate. One day, a package arrived at the Vitiello estate addressed to me. Inside was a diary. Anna's old diary. There was a note attached, from a friend who knows the truth. Read the entry dated July 15th, 5 years ago. I opened the diary. July 15th was the day of the assassination attempt in my previous life. The day I died. The entry read, "It's done. I paid the mole. He'll leak Stefano's route tomorrow. Stefano will get hurt, and I'll be there to save him. Anita is too stupid. She'll probably be cowering somewhere. Once I take a bullet for him, he'll have to marry me. He owes me. And Anita, well, if she gets caught in the crossfire, all the better." My hands shook. It wasn't just opportunism. It was premeditated. Anna had orchestrated the attack on Stefano in my previous life to trap him. And in this life, she had likely done the same, or at least capitalized on a leak she knew about. "Lorenzo," I called out, my voice trembling. He came running. I showed him the diary. "This is it," he said, his eyes darkening. "Proof. Not just of her treachery against you, but against the Marino family. Endangering the Don is punishable by death. Who sent this? I asked. Does it matter? Someone in the Costa household who has finally had enough of her, perhaps. Or someone in Marino's camp who wants to see her fall. We have to show Stefano, I said. Why? Lorenzo asked gently. Let them destroy each other. Because, I looked at him, I want him to know. I want him to know that the woman he sacrificed everything for was the one who almost got him killed. I want him to know that his true love is a lie. That is the ultimate revenge. Lorenzo nodded slowly. Very well. We'll arrange a meeting. We met in a neutral warehouse by the docks. Stefano arrived alone looking haggard. He saw me standing next to Lorenzo and clenched his jaw. What is this about? He demanded. If you're here to taunt me. Read this, I said, throwing the diary at his feet. He looked at it, then at me. Slowly he bent down and picked it up. He recognized it immediately. Anna's. July 15th, I said. He flipped the pages. As he read, the color drained from his face. His hands started to shake violently. No, he whispered. This can't be true. It is, I said. Think about it, Stefano. How did she know where you were that day? How did she arrive so perfectly timed? Why was the wound she took just a graze, while the shooters were professionals? He staggered back, leaning against a crate. She set it up? She tried to kill me. She tried to manipulate you, Lorenzo corrected. And it worked. Perfectly. Stefano looked up, his eyes wild. And you saved me. In that other timeline, you said. He looked confused, memories of a life he didn't live flickering in his subconscious? No, he was just realizing the depth of my devotion in this life, juxtaposed with Anna's betrayal. I loved you, Stefano, I said quietly. I loved you enough to disappear so you could be happy. I loved you enough to not expose her sooner, because I thought she made you happy. But she is a cancer. And she has been poisoning you for years. He dropped the diary. He looked broken. Anita. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix the scar on my arm. I said, touching the place where the phoenix tattoo lay. Sorry doesn't bring back the years I wasted loving you. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you carved a skull into my flesh because you trusted a liar over me. He flinched as if I had struck him. I can fix this. I'll annul the marriage. I'll banish her. Anita, come back. Please. I'll make it up to you. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I looked at him, this man I had once worshipped. He looked small now, weak. I felt Lorenzo's hand on the small of my back, warm and steady. No, Stefano, I said firmly. I'm not coming back. I found someone who didn't need a bullet to realize my worth. I found someone who protects me, not hurts me. I found love, real love, and it isn't with you. Stefano looked at Lorenzo, then back at me. He saw the ring on my finger. He saw the way I leaned into Lorenzo, and he knew he had lost. She will pay, Stefano whispered, his voice transforming into the icy tone of the dawn. Anna will pay for this. That is your business, I said. Goodbye, Stefano. We turned and walked away. Behind us, I heard a primal scream of rage echo through the empty warehouse. The fallout was swift and brutal. Stefano returned to the estate and confronted Anna. Confronted with the diary, she broke down, screaming that she did it out of love, that she deserved to be Donna. Stefano didn't listen. He didn't kill her, death would be too easy. Instead, he stripped her of her title, her jewels, her clothes. He had her thrown out of the estate in the middle of the night with nothing but the rags on her back. My father, realizing his betting on the wrong horse had cost him everything, his alliance with the Marinos, his honor, tried to reach out to me. He sent letters, pleading for forgiveness, asking me to intercede with Lorenzo on his behalf. I burned them all. Anna tried to come to the Vitiello estate, begging for sanctuary. She stood at the gates, screaming my name, crying that she was my sister. I watched her from the balcony. Do you want to let her in? Lorenzo asked. No, I said. She made her bed. Let her lie in it. Anna eventually disappeared into the city's underbelly, a forgotten relic of a fallen ambition. Stefano became a tyrant. Without Anna to distract him, and consumed by regret over losing me, he ruled the Marino family with an iron fist. But he never married again. Rumor had it he kept a room in his estate locked, filled with sunflowers and pictures of a girl with red hair he had let slip away. A year later, Lorenzo and I were married. It wasn't a grand political alliance. It was a wedding in the garden of our home, surrounded by friends and loyal soldati. I wore white this time, a simple, elegant dress. As I walked down the aisle, I saw my reflection in a mirror. The phoenix on my arm was visible, a testament to my journey. I wasn't the timid, overlooked Anita Costa anymore. I was Anita Vitiello. Lorenzo took my hands at the altar. Do you, Anita, take this man? I do, I said, my voice ringing clear and true. We exchanged rings. As he slipped the band onto my finger, next to the pink diamond, he whispered, My Donna, my queen, my king, I whispered back. Later that night, as we stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights, Lorenzo wrapped his arms around me. Are you happy? He asked. I am, I said, leaning my head back against his chest. I finally am. Stefano sent a gift. Lorenzo said hesitantly. Oh, a painting. Of you. From memory, it seems. Throw it away, I said without hesitation. I don't need reminders of the past. I have my future right here. I turned in his arms and kissed him. A kiss full of passion, promise, and a love that had been forged in fire and blood. The nightmare was over. The naive fool who died for a man who didn't care was gone. In her place stood a woman who had saved herself, with a little help from a shadow who loved her. And we lived, not happily ever after in a fairy tale sense, but happily in the real, gritty, beautiful world we had carved out for ourselves. Together. The end.